Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a pregnancy update. I am officially 7 weeks today. Every Wednesday is a new week for me, so I figured I would come on here and show you what's been going on and give you some ultrasound pictures to look at and give you an overview of the past few weeks that have led me up to this point. So like I said, I am currently 7 weeks. We transferred a 6-day embryo. Well, we don't really know. My previous clinic said it was a 5-day, and then this one says it's a 6-day. So it is what it is. We'll just go with 6-day and call a spade, I suppose. But we transferred on July 15th of 2019, and I ended up finding out I was pregnant on 9 DPO or 10 DPO. In a normal cycle would be equivalent to DPO. I had my first beta drawn at 15 DPO and it came back at 110. My second beta was 270. And then my third beta 2 days later, these are both 48-hour time frame in between each beta, it came back at 976. So once my clinic realizes that the beta numbers are rising appropriately, they go ahead and schedule an ultrasound. So I had my first ultrasound at 14 days past the 6-day transfer. I believe at, what is that, 4 weeks? 4 weeks and 4 days? 4 weeks and 4 days. And we were able to see a gestational sac. So I've already shown you guys what this looks like, but I kind of want to give a timeline of what things look like. So there is the black hole or gestational sac, and it was measuring at, let's see, 5.43 centimeters in length, 4.5 in height, and 3.05 in width. So really good, I was told. And then during this time, my symptoms, I started spotting around 4 weeks, 4 days. That's why I ended up having this first ultrasound, and also to date and make sure that the embryo was in the appropriate place and it wasn't in my tubes or any other odd location where it shouldn't be. But obviously it's in my uterus and was growing appropriately. So we just chalked it up to my spotting being implantation bleeding. I was also cramping a little bit, and I was a little bit nauseous and hungry all the time and frequently urinating. And a lot of that was probably having to do with my HCG level being really high at the time. And I'm also on progesterone injections as well as estrogen support, since we had to suppress my body, and it's not a normal natural cycle where you normally make your own progesterone and estrogen with the corpus luteum. I have a corpus luteum, however, it's being kind of baked into producing the correct amount of hormone. So, and then moving forward at 5 weeks, I was still spotting at 5 weeks one day, and I started passing little clots here and there. They were all dark brown. Sorry if TMI, but this is a pregnancy video, so if you don't want to hear about this type of thing, then just go ahead and click out of it and wait for another update. But yeah, so I was spotting and passing clots, and every single time I've ever spotted during this pregnancy, it's always been dark brown, and nothing has been bright red or anything. So as long as I didn't see red and I wasn't cramping alongside, I was told that it wasn't anything to worry about. So I continued on, and at 5 weeks and 3 days, I ended up getting a little bit more uneasy and uncomfortable because none of my pregnancies have ever had clots and this much spotting and bleeding before without it being a miscarriage. So I was very hesitant and wanted to get it checked into further. So I felt like I was kind of being passed off and brushed off. So I went ahead and got a second opinion. And so I went to the hospital local here where I live, and they ran some tests and did an ultrasound. I don't have that ultrasound. They wouldn't give me any pictures, but I was able to see that there was a gestational sac as well as a yolk sac. There wasn't a heartbeat at this time yet. And then they ran some blood levels and all of those came back normal. My HCG was 20,597 and my progesterone was 41.57. I have some notes here to refer to. And then 3 days later, I had another ultrasound, and this one, for whatever reason, doesn't show a gestational sac or yolk sac. Sorry, the one in the hospital didn't show the yolk sac, it just showed a gestational sac still, but it definitely got larger in size, and same with this ultrasound too. So that's what they were looking for. Even though I was bleeding and passing clots, they wanted to make sure that the sac itself was growing and could have potential to have a yolk sac and eventually a baby in it. So if you remember correctly, this was the first one that I had. And then for reference, this is the second one. So it definitely doubled in size. And that was done on August 1st. So everything was looking good at that point. And aside from, you know, just frequently urinating and having nausea off and on, I didn't really have that many pregnancy symptoms. My breasts would hurt every now and then, but they weren't continuously sore like they were with my daughter. So again, that made me a little bit uneasy and nervous. So at 6 weeks, I ended up having some pretty severe nausea, and it really kicked into gear at this point. So I would have it in the morning up until 11 a.m. and then again between like 1 and 3. It's been pretty consistent throughout this entire week leading up to today, and even today I still have off and on nausea. So what helps me get through the nausea is I can't eat during this time. When I'm super nauseous like that, food does not help me. I know a lot of women say that, you know, if they eat small meals here and there. Sorry if you guys hear my dogs in the background. There must be someone outside that they're watching. But I know a lot of women say to eat small meals and, you know, try to eat carbs and, you know, stay away from fried foods and stuff like that. But I can't eat anything, nothing. No crackers, no nothing when I'm nauseous. It's just the way this pregnancy is going. The only thing that helps is when I chew gum, spearmint gum, or when I drink ice cold water. Like the ice cannot even begin to be melting, or it's just not cold enough. Same thing with this week as last week, or the 6 weeks and 5 weeks. Frequent urination, sore breasts, and now they were starting to feel heavy and fuller, so that gave me a lot more confirmation. So this whole time that I've been spotting off and on and passing clots, I have never lost any of my symptoms. So that was very reassuring to hear, because of course every woman's going to turn to Google and want to know, you know, is this normal, or, you know, we should be asking our OBs or our reproductive endocrinologists, but I mean, when they're not there and Google is, you know, at your disposal and just a click away, it's just so much easier just to refer to it and talk to other women and, you know, various boards and, you know, social media. So that's what I did, and thankfully a lot of their responses have been positive and they haven't thought miscarriage, but I obviously have, since I've had so many. But that leads us to our next ultrasound, which was done on the 6th of August at 5 weeks and 6 days. I had that ultrasound done, and we were finally able to see a yolk sac and a little flicker of a heartbeat. They were able to measure it, and they took 2 measurements. The first one came in at 99, and the other one at 103. So they guesstimated that the heart had just started beating, and, you know, it wasn't considered low or abnormal or anything. So generally a baby's heart can start beating anywhere between 5.5 weeks to 6.5 weeks. So I was just barely over the 5.5 week mark. So the ultrasound tech said that it probably just started beating, but we were able to see. It wasn't measured though via Doppler, like we weren't able to see it or anything, but she just measured it for the beats per minute, if that makes sense. And then that leads us to this past weekend. This past weekend was a horror movie for me. I think I have a little bit of PTSD from it. It was my worst nightmare. It's been my biggest fear all along, was losing this baby. I instantly went to a very dark place when I started heavily bleeding and I was passing very massive clots. My husband and I and Tamsin, our daughter, and our stepson, well, my stepsons, we were in Kentucky visiting family, and it's about a 3.5 hour drive from our home here in Ohio, and I was a nervous wreck. I didn't know what to do. I was playing with Tamsin and she started to run away from me, and I ran after her because we were on a beach and I didn't want her to get hurt or go into the water by herself or anything like that. She is only 2, so she's very mobile and I have to stay caught up with her. So I ran, and no sooner did I ran and I sat down after finally getting her to calm down and sit down with the rest of us, I started gushing blood. And it wasn't just the brown blood anymore. It was red and very abundant. And like I said, I would be fairly certain that I have PTSD now because of it. It's a memory I will never forget. And then what happened next was what really made me nervous, is when we finally got home. I was so scared to go to the bathroom. I did not want to pass any more tissue or any more blood, but I had to pee, and I sat down, and as soon as I sat down, I immediately felt something fall out, and it was another big clot. And I wiped, and there was more clots on the toilet paper. And I showed my husband, and we knew this wasn't a good thing. And I had already had an appointment scheduled to see my OB. I'm no longer with my reproductive endocrinologist for several reasons, but I'm not going to go into that. I am thankful that they were able to get us pregnant, but I'm just more comfortable with my OB. So moving forward, any type of testing or ultrasounds or anything going forward will be strictly with my OB at this point. But yeah, so when I saw those large clots and that much bleeding, I thought I lost the baby. So we went in the next morning, Sunday, I took it easy, and I put myself on bed rest, let me backtrack, sorry, I'm getting a little all over the place. On the car ride home on Saturday, I had called the on-call nurse line, or the on-call doctor line, and spoke to one of my OB's peers in the practice, and she had told me that, as long as I still had my pregnancy symptoms and, it wasn't something that was going to continue happening, to just go home and put my feet up and rest and, don't lift anything, don't, go up and down stairs, very minimal effort on my part. So that's exactly what I did until Monday morning. And then I went in and saw my OB, and the baby was still there and definitely grew. And we got to see the heartbeat again, but he didn't measure it with the Doppler. Since we were able to see it, he felt confident that I was measuring appropriately. But I did learn that I do have a subchorionic hemorrhage. It's rather large on ultrasound, and for whatever reason, during all these other ultrasounds that I've had, it was not mentioned. It was never once brought up. And now that I'm looking back at these ultrasounds, you can see it clearly on there. And my RE said he had a knack for women that have subchorionic hemorrhages. He said he had an eye for those types of things, and I would be willing to place bets that he doesn't at this point. At least not with me. Maybe with other women, but with mine, he definitely did not find it. Not that I'm blaming him, but I could have eased my mind a lot sooner rather than waiting until a couple days ago to be reassured. But I will go ahead and show you what the baby looks like now. So he or she is starting to sprout limbs, so you can kind of see. Let me see if I can get it focused in there. This is baby. This is my subchorionic hemorrhage. You can see it there. Again, it's rather large, and you could even see it on this one too. It's just gray instead of black. So you can see it on my first couple ultrasounds too, right here. And I can see it on my first one actually, which is right there. You could see it right next to it. So I don't know why it wasn't brought to my attention sooner. I would have thought a lot better, because I have done obviously some research since then, and my OB has been keeping a very close eye on me. You know, with everything that's been going on, and thankfully he understands how long it took for us to get to this point and how many cycles we've done with IUIs and IVF and frozen embryo transfers, and this is technically my 6th baby, and he knows, he's been through almost every single loss with us, so he knows what type of journey we've been on. He's been along the ride too. So that leads us to today. Again, I'm 7 weeks pregnant today, and just taking it day by day. And I've been told that if I'm, you know, feeling uncomfortable or uneasy about my spotting, it definitely has lessened today. It's not as abundant as it has been. So he did reassure me that it, you know, can take a few days and up to a week for it all to absorb or dissipate and eventually go away. So I feel a lot more confident, and I have another ultrasound on Monday, and he said that everything again should double in size, and it's my new OB intake, so I'll be doing all my blood work and everything and having an ultrasound, so I will have that ready for you guys when I'm at 9 weeks. So I'll show you my 7 and 8 weeks. I think that's how I'm going to do that going forward. But again, I just wanted to come on here and give you guys an update. I'm sorry I haven't been on here updating sooner, but as you can tell, I've been through quite a bit, and I just didn't feel comfortable quite yet to share the information and not be a blubbering mess. So I thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my new subscribers. You know, I'm so glad that you guys are all following along on our journey for baby number 2. And if you are new here, please introduce yourself in the comments below. I would love to get to know you and, you know, be able to have a better understanding of each other, and, you know, just be able to help each other along the way if you're pregnant, or, you know, if you're just wanting to follow along because you like watching pregnancy updates, and that's fine too. But again, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you join on our journey. And don't forget to hit the bell notifications to be notified of any new video that I upload. And I hope you guys have a good day, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.